about now in your life? Does it matter if you find someone? Can you be perfectly fulfilled without?
I would like to meet someone that I adore, who adores me, that we can have a great adventure as both of us are closer to the exit than the entrance. I'd like to experience scary intimacy. I'd like to be known and to know someone in the deepest way. I think that would be delicious. I'm also, very aware that it might not happen. I might not run into him at an art gallery, or eyes might not lock. It might not happen. And I think about what then is the plan B? What is a way for me to still have men in my life, to still have that energy with them, to still, thrive and flourish in these, years that I have remaining. So I think sometimes in terms of a rotation of interesting men. And, I think of my friend Eddie, who I love sitting out on his back patio. He's a fanatic gardener, a reasonable cook. I love hanging out with my friend Arthur, who is into bodywork, knows a lot about astrology and about, sort of herbal medicine and remedies. He came up to visit last Christmas, is coming back this year. And this isn't a boy-girl relationship. This is a friend that I adore, and I feel adored by him, and a rotation of people that feed me in different ways. Is it the same as having that one lover, that one life partner? It is not the same. But I'm not going to be in this world without men and without male energy and without, kind of all that offers.
So, how do you avoid having regrets in life?
I don't think I try to avoid having regrets. There are definitely things that I feel deep regret around. I mean, I think it would be sort of Pollyannish to just have this sort of happy talk and happy disposition. Life is textured, and we're learning as we go along, and we don't always get it right, and that's okay to embrace all of that.
So, how has sex and love and relationships changed as you got older?
I think until I was about 35, I thought I was going to meet my husband. So I was on the lookout for him. As I passed 35 and then hit 40, it started to dawn on me that this might not happen the way that I thought it was going to happen. And I had to make peace with that. As little girls, we grow up thinking that that's the only pathway. And I've changed a lot about how I view relationships. So I used to be focused on the chemistry. It was all about the chemistry. And where that led me is I ended up several times in like the 4th year of a 2-year relationship, or the 8th month of a 2-month relationship, because I would then find that in fundamental ways we weren't compatible. So upon the advice of actually a very young woman, who I was intrigued that she had this incredible insight, but I have found it to be true, which is this: first now, I focus on, do we have the same goal? In other words, are we both going to Santa Fe? Are we both going to New York? It doesn't really matter whether I'm taking the scenic route and he's taking the highway, as long as we're both going to the same place. The next thing I focus on is this person really available to me to build the kind of relationship that we want? Are they a workaholic? Do they have family obligations? Are they, at a place where they haven't done enough of the internal work? They don't know their interior. They're not ready and available. And then only third do I focus on the chemistry, because if those first two things are true, the chemistry will still be there. When I was entering relationships chemistry first, I would find that there was this connection, but then I'm going to New York and he's going to Santa Fe, and it was never going to work anyway.
So has that radically changed how your dating life has gone?
It changes what I focus on. Chemistry matters, but I know at this stage it's not enough. That could be all there, and we could ultimately not end up together, ultimately find out that we're not compatible in the way that we need to be to have a long-term relationship.
If you were 20 again, knowing what you know now, what would you do different?
I'd give that young woman a hug. I would tell her that it's all going to work out. Not the way she expected, but that she will learn how to adapt and pivot and find her happiness. I'm not what I would call an approval seeker. Never have been. And I think part of this actually has to do with growing up in America as a dark-skinned, rounded-featured, kinky-haired little girl. So I grew up long before all these beautiful Sudanese models were strutting down the runway, and before there was, Lupita and all of that we see now that we have grown accustomed to. So that I had to decide, since I don't look the way the culture said you're supposed to look, I could either lean into that and feel bad about myself, or lean away from it and not. So I got to, you don't like my full lips? This is before they had full lips. I'm gonna paint them red. You don't like my round nose? I'm gonna put a diamond in the middle of it. You don't like my kinky hair? I'm gonna wear it big and woolly. And I went that direction.
Yeah.
And I went that direction at 16.
Do you give a fuck about what people think of you? And if it's changed, when did it change?
Some people opinion I care about, but I'm not what I would call an approval seeker. Never have been. And I think part of this actually has to do with growing up in America as a dark-skinned, rounded-featured, kinky-haired little girl. So I grew up long before all these beautiful Sudanese models were strutting down the runway, and before there was, Lupita and all of that we see now that we have grown accustomed to. So that I had to decide, since I don't look the way the culture said you're supposed to look, I could either lean into that and feel bad about myself or lean away from it and not. So I got to, you don't like my full lips? This is before they had full lips. I'm gonna paint them red. You don't like my round nose? I'm gonna put a diamond in the middle of it. You don't like my kinky hair? I'm gonna wear it big and woolly. And I went that direction.
Yeah.
And I went that direction at 16. And I've been on that track ever since. And the world now has kind of caught up where we're much more democratic in how we define beauty. There's a much bigger range than when I was coming up. So that working that muscle though, as a very young woman, as a young girl, being defiant about I have a place in the world, I am comfortable with my brand of beauty, seeped into a lot of other areas. It made me brave. Not that I wasn't scared, but I would do things anyway.
I'd like to know, what is your power move each day? What do you get up in the morning and do to make you feel power?
So I'm looking to feel comfort. I'm looking to feel like I'm taking good care of myself, that I'm not depriving myself. So for me, breakfast looks like a half a biscuit, a half an avocado, and a boiled egg, and a nice cup of coffee. The biscuit is because it's familiar, it's rich. I'm, at this stage of life, my most important thing is managing my health. But you don't want to do it in such a way that there's no joy. I love food. There's no joy in what you're eating. So the biscuit kind of gives me that. The avocado gives me the oils. The egg gives me the protein. And I walk a couple of times a week. I've recently started doing Pilates, which I love the stretching and the core work. I'm a night owl, as many people know. I need 5 hours of sleep. I rarely go to bed before 2 a.m. I invest in my women friends and my men friends. I spend time with them, have them over, keep up with their lives. That sort of.
So it's not so much a power move, it's a comfort and a pleasure mood.
And it is a, just a flow. I just want to be in a flow where I am touching, doing those things that are important to me, that matter to me. Is Lapita and all of that we see now that we have grown accustomed to, so that I had to decide, since I don't look the way the culture said you're supposed to look, I could either lean into that and feel bad about myself or lean away from it and not. So I got to, you don't like my full lips? This is before they had full lips. I'm gonna paint them red. You don't like my round nose? I'm gonna put a diamond in the middle of it. You don't like my kinky hair? I'm gonna wear it big and woolly. And I went that direction.
Yeah.
And I went that direction at 16. And I've been on that track ever since.